All right, guys. So we're doing take 73. Okay, welcome to the Formula A Azerbaijan race preview podcast. We've got Kyle, Marcus, and Ryan here. How's it going, guys?
Pretty good. I think we're ready for another good street race.
Yeah, I like that Baku's like that street race that's still kind of like a circuit. Like you can go 3 wide around or on the straight, but then you still have like that tight castle section.
I was going to say on the straight you can go 3 wide, 4 wide.
Yeah.
4 wide. But yeah,
and you can, if you're Danny Rick, you can overtake 2 cars, 3 cars.
Yeah.
Do we think we're going to see some of that from him this year or not?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to be for a podium spot. It might be a triple overtake for like 13th.
Yeah, I mean, hey, maybe if he's in that Red Bull, I mean, that thing's probably going to fly through the straight.
Yeah. Right? Yeah.
Wait, Danny Rick in a Red Bull?
If he was in the Red Bull.
Yeah. Oh, if he was in the Red Bull.
Yeah, we're just talking like in general, like because I think I heard somewhere that last year, at least during quali, they didn't really care about how they set up the car because they knew they had, like they set up the car for the race, not for single lap pace. I think that's why we saw them qualifying not too great. And, sure enough, I think they would have had a nice 1-2 last year if it wasn't for Tiregate.
For Tiregate, yeah.
Tiregate, wow, I like the name.
What do you think of that, Ryan? Do you think we're going to see a Red Bull 1-2, or are we going to have a couple surprises?
Are we getting right to the top 8 predictions
Let's
now?
do it. Let's just dive right in.
Oh, God.
I'm down.
Because you guessed me well. I have a Red Bull 1-2.
I think we all have a Red Bull 1-2.
I think so.
But in what order? Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, we're going to get to that. We have to get to that. Let's just hear your prediction. Let's hear your top 8, Ryan. Let's do that first.
Okay, so my top 8 are... I didn't write them down, so this is off the top of my head. I just texted it to Kyle.
Do you want me to do it?
No, I think I still got him. So it's Verstappen, Perez.
Yep.
Leclerc, Sainz.
Yeah.
Super boring, I know. But so we have a little point system going on, and now I'm going for the kill. No more bold predictions. I'm going for points. Straight points. I want to beat both these guys. So I got those 4 up front. Red Bull, Ferrari. Then I think I had Hamilton 5th?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Alonso 6th.
Yes.
And then Russell 7th?
Yep.
Yeah. And then 8th was Norris.
Yeah. Good picks.
There we go.
I've got mine right in front of me, so I'll jump into it because the top half is pretty similar, I think, but then I've got a couple other different ones in there for you. My top 8, again, Verstappen and Perez, 1st and 2nd. I'm locking in that Red Bull 1-2. I've got Leclerc 3rd, Hamilton 4th, so 1 higher than you, Sainz 5th, Norris 6th, Magnussen 7, and Seb Vettel in 8th, because Seb Vettel is quite good at Baku.
I like it.
Yes. He got that dog of an Aston Martin up to 2nd last year, if you remember. So I'm sticking with that.
Mine's very boring.
He's been good in points when he has the opportunity.
Yeah.
This season.
Yeah. So I wouldn't put it past him.
Nope.
Marcus?
I think mine's probably the most boring prediction.
You got to go with your head, man. You got to go with you think it's going to work.
I'm going to go with Verstappen, Perez, Leclerc, Sainz, Hamilton, Russell, Vettel, Norris.
Interesting.
This is a smart pick.
You got Vettel even higher than I do. That's pretty good.
I was debating.
I wouldn't put it past him.
I was debating swapping Vettel and Norris, but I don't know.
So very similar predictions.
Did you get those down right? Ryan looks like Albert Einstein or something, like quickly writing those picks down.
I guess, it's a good thing Ryan's writing it down.
Yeah, he's our official point scorer here.
Yeah.
Got my notebook.
Yeah.
This is serious now. This podcast is officially serious.
Well, since we're talking about Red Bull 1-2s here, I think I might bring up a sensitive subject, we'll call it. Do we think, if Red Bull are in a position to use team orders, they will? And if so, do we think they're going to put a little bit of favoritism on Max or let the drivers fight?
So, if that's directed at me, which I'm going to assume it is, because I'm the Red Bull guy. Yeah, 100%. I really think that's going to go by. There's variables. So, what's the Max Leclerc point gap? What's the strategies they're on? Is like if Perez is ahead, let's say, and like we saw in Spain where Max was genuinely on a faster tire and he was going to get by Perez whether they fought or not. So now you're just wasting both of their time for 3/4 of a lap, or let's say 1 lap. Absolutely, they would use team orders because it's easy. In the scenario where they're both on the same strategy, or Perez is like ahead on merit and can stay ahead. The only time I could see them using it is if Leclerc does start biting back in the points, and like Max doesn't have a huge points gap on him at the moment.
No,
it's pretty tight. Like the top
if
three.
If it happens this race, I'd say yeah, they're gonna pull the team order trigger.
Yeah, I'd agree.
I don't like saying it, but
I don't think anybody really wants to, unless you're Jos Verstappen, obviously. I don't really think anybody wants to see it.
Oh man!
But I would totally agree. I think there's still favoritism to Max. Like Checo's been really good so far this season. Like definitely exceeding expectations, I feel. But
he's only 15 points behind Max, I think.
Yeah, it's super close. Like if Max had another unfortunate DNF or something, all Perez has to do is podium and tied for the championship lead. Depending on where Leclerc would finish, obviously. But this is all hypothetical. But the fact is that he's in the running. If one of these guys have a bad weekend or something happens, he's right there. He's breathing down their necks, right? So they have to consider it. But I think Red Bull is still looking, grand scheme of things long term. They probably still think Max is obviously the better, chance at a championship. So I think that they'd still favor, they think they'd still lean towards him for a decision. But like you said, again, also depends on what the strategy is. Who's setting faster laps, all that, right? So there's a lot at play there. But I think Jos telling them what to do and who to direct the favoritism towards is just ridiculous. What do you guys think about Jos diving in there? He's like if you're in Canada, he's like that hockey dad that just just stay out of it. You're not on the ice. But anyway, what do you guys think about Jos?
I'm gonna let Ryan take this one.
Yeah, I'll start off.
Yeah.
As a Red Bull fan, it was incredibly embarrassing. He's kind of looking like Helmut Marko, just off his rocker.
Oh. 2 Helmut Marko.
Even though just mind your own business. Your son's a world champion and is leading the championship again. You have to trust that Horner and Marko have yours and Max and the team's best interest, and it's not your place.
Yeah.
You got to follow Damon Hill and Coulthard and be in F1 already.
Yeah.
And now it's Max's turn. So step aside.
Yeah. You can start naming him coattails if
That's my take.
He's not careful. I totally agree though. These guys need to just it's like the most technologically advanced sport in the world, the best engineers, best you would hope the best strategists or whatever. Yeah, best everything. Just leave them to it. And you know what? If Max had qualified ahead of Perez, I'm sure they could have helped him more, but he didn't. So, that's what happens. It's racing.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. I don't know. I think Sergio's going to do really well. Just historically, what he's done. I think he's got 2 Baku podiums with Force India.
Yeah,
Is it?
I think,
2 third
pink
place
and the orange cars.
Yeah.
And
who knows? Maybe he would have had a higher finish in, I think, was it 2017 where he and Ocon. I'm sure Ryan's happy to hear that him and Ocon driving into each other, and I think it happened twice.
Yeah, it was super early in the race too, second corner or something.
Yeah,
into the wall because it's so tight through. Unless you're on that mega straightaway, it's super tight through that track. And that always makes this race interesting, if anything else. It's a tight track, not a lot of margin for error, and it does sort of mix things up. I mean, there's going to be yellow flags,
100%. What I'm curious about, though, is how that Mercedes is going to do. Like, you know, once you're 3/4 of the way into that race, like, that's a long straight to be bouncing up and down.
Yeah.
So, who knows? Maybe it'll do more damage than good, and our predictions are completely off.
It's like 2 kilometers of just head banging.
Yeah.
For
If they porpoise there, because they didn't porpoise in Spain, but they porpoised in Monaco.
which is really bizarre. I
Very
think
bizarre.
Spain is way faster. Monaco's super tight and slow.
But
maybe that's it.
Maybe
They
it's
need
the
speed.
road surface,
It might have been the road surface,
right?
Which
Because
obviously on a street track,
circuit,
yeah.
you're not gonna have perfect tarmac. So maybe it unsettles it a little bit, and then it's just
Yeah.
I think they definitely have like a mystery on their hands, and they're trying to play it as cool as possible there.
yeah.
But it's like a real mystery what the hell's going on with that car.
Yeah, I mean, if there is a team that is going to turn it around, though, I think Mercedes is definitely the team to do so.
They're right there. They're right there.
Here's a good question. How long can they trail? Like, hypothetically, how many years, how many races could they trail behind Red Bull and Ferrari before the pressure starts to disassemble and crumble the team?
Not that
Before,
long.
like, Toto starts to get questioned, drivers start to leave, people start to leave for other teams. Like, at what point would that kind of take place and the Mercedes mothership comes crashing down? I'm not saying it's happening yet, but how long do you think?
I think it's definitely a possibility, though, because, I mean, you look at the eras of dominance in F1, right? You had, Williams used to be untouchable. Ferrari was amazing. Like, they've all had their, even Renault was world champions for a bit. So it's all
Williams.
Oh, did I not say Williams?
Oh, I think
It was the first,
I think
it was the first team you said.
might have. I just didn't hear it.
Oh.
Sorry, but I just
No,
sorry.
it's all good. Williams, McLaren, like, all these teams have had super dominant eras, right? So it's like you look at McLaren in the 80s. Was Williams dominant in the 90s or late 80s?
90s.
Yeah.
And then, you had Ferrari late 90s, early 2000s. You had the Renault 2 years in a row, Red Bull 4 years after that, then Mercedes with their crazy long. So I think it's just a changing of the guard potentially.
Yeah.
What did Williams come out with? They came out with the active ride, the active suspension.
Mm-hmm.
And it just traction control. That was it. They pioneered traction control, and it put them so far ahead of everybody else. They were so advanced for that time.
Yeah, and they had Patrick Head doing a lot of their design stuff too, like legend, right? In F1 design. So, and like having a Patrick Head, Mercedes has so many talented people working in that team. It goes beyond the drivers and Master Toto. There's just so much talent, so many great engineers in there. I don't think they'll be failing for very long. I know, like, most teams would just dream of being the third best team on the grid. For Mercedes, it's a failure, though. But I don't think they'll stay there much longer. And I mean, look, Ferrari was like down in the dumps for, pretty much the past 5 or so years, right? They couldn't really figure it out. And then obviously the last 2 seasons, well, especially during the pandemic years, where they were terrible. And they've turned it around super quickly, and they got ahead on the new rules. They figured it out very quickly. And I think Mercedes will turn it around. I think these guys are also getting a bit of a longer leash, a bit more leeway, just because the rules changed so much. So I think, the top guys at Mercedes are obviously just giving them a bit of time to, figure things out. I think it'd be a while before heads started to roll there and people started to leave. But that's just my 2 cents. But I think they will turn it around pretty quickly. And Red Bull and Ferrari need to be wary of these guys.
Yeah, well,
right?
because if Red Bull and Ferrari keep having these little mishaps where they're not capitalizing, now's the time for them to be securing these race wins and building that gap, because say they keep having DNFs or keep having poor results, and then, midway through the season, Mercedes basically does what they did at the end of last season, where that car was on fire and Lewis closed up the gap to be level on points by the end of the season. They could be in trouble.
That's a good point. Because Red Bull and Verstappen were cut above the rest for most of the first 2/3 of the season, right?
Yeah, because I think at one point the gap was 40 points, and then within 3-4 races,
Silverstone.
yeah.
Gets cut right down. But yeah, I totally get it. You saw how quickly they turned it around and just became the dominant car again.
Yeah, I think it was basically from Brazil. Hamilton just had crazy momentum.
Yeah, and that ridiculous comeback drive in Brazil.
Yeah, that was... I still think, listen, Hamilton fan or Max fan, that was probably yes, the sprint setup helped him big time, but that was still probably one of the best recovery drives we've ever seen.
Ever.
Yeah, ever. You can't take it away. Can't take it away from him. So, and yeah, it's the thing. As good as the team is and the engineers, the designers, and everything, you've got the most successful driver of all time on that team, right? And he might, once in a while he might want to quit on the second lap, call it a day, but he flick of a switch, he can turn it around and figure things out. So
as long as it's not the brake magic switch.
Yes, which this is the track where the magic was operated, and he pulled a Houdini and just disappeared out of the race.
Yeah.
I don't think he'll do that again.
Well,
No.
I think they moved the position of the magic button too.
I think even if it wasn't moved, though, Hamilton doesn't have the stress of fighting for a championship this year, or at least not yet. So I think he's driving with a little bit of almost relief. He's just out there.
I think
Yeah.
yes and no. I think
besides
now,
being stuck behind Alonso, it's
well, not only that, I think Hamilton is a very competitive person, and he doesn't like that Russell is basically wiping the floor with him.
Well, that's a hot take. Wiping the floor. Oh.
he is in stats.
Yeah, yes, Russell has gotten very lucky with strategy and the way races have played out, but he is maybe not wiping the floor, but he's a fair ways ahead, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, he's got
That's
quite the
part of it.
Yeah, he's got quite the points gap, and I mean we've heard before I think Hamilton said something if Russell is fourth, then I should be third. He just expects to be beating him every race, and I think people might have misinterpreted that. I don't think he's being arrogant. He's a racer. He wants to be the best. He wants to be beating this guy every time, right? I think it's more on his part, just saying I need to be better than this, and it's that drive that I think is,
Yeah,
gonna
I'm
help
going
him
to
in the
agree
long
with
run.
Kyle.
Yeah.
I think he's saying, well, if this car can get Russell fourth place, I've got all the experience, I've got all this, I should be in third.
Yeah.
It's not, I don't think he means it in a negative way towards Russell. I think that's just the way, as a competitor, he sees it.
Yeah, I mean he's got to be realistic too, right? He's getting old. He's got the young guy that everyone is expecting in Mercedes, hoping to be a future world champ as his teammate now. He's just kind of seeing the change in the guard, but I think he wants to remind people I'm still here and I'm still really good too.
Yeah.
So
And I mean, we know that age is just a number, especially with how Alonso's been driving.
look at Fernando, yeah. You want time?
Damon Hill debuted at 32 years old
Yeah,
in Formula One.
yeah. So,
Ages, yeah, and like you said, Vettel too is not having a terrible season considering he's in a big
the
green
machinery,
tractor,
yeah.
not a
Yes,
John Deere,
he's
but
got
pretty
that,
close.
Yeah.
That green tin can. He's driving the Mountain Dew can. You know what?
Speaking of that,
He's good. He's good here at Baku.
he
This
is.
could be a good weekend for him and Aston Martin. I
I
mean,
want to know where he was going with the Mountain Dew, though.
yeah, you really perked up, actually. I think I might have interrupted a good Mountain Dew take there, but
No, it wasn't Mountain Dew. It wasn't
Okay.
Mountain Dew take.
I still want to
Nothing
hear
do.
because you perked up. do you got?
Is this potentially the last Baku race we'll see Vettel participate in?
Yes. I'm not even hesitating.
Yeah, I mean,
You think this is it? He's done. He's retiring this year.
This is
Yeah.
the swan song.
That's You know what? You go out on a kind of a high note, right? Like, have a good season, collect some points,
Yeah.
have your last hurrah with Aston Martin, and then I'm sure he'll be extremely involved with Formula One. Like, he runs that GBPA, right? The drivers' safety board.
Yeah. I
I think
does
he's
he?
on that.
Okay, yeah.
So I don't see him leaving that anytime soon. And
Well, yeah, I mean, I'm sure he might stick around. And, I mean, he's a racer at the end of the day, too. Like, I wouldn't be surprised to see him maybe venture off into, he could do anything, Le Mans, IndyCar, whatever he wants. He's a 4-time world champion, right? Anywhere he wants to go, people will take him.
maybe he'll become a commentator and just remind us that, he's a 4-time world champion while Lewis Hamilton was also on the grid.
Yeah, and he beat Mark Webber in the
my
same
God.
machinery. Don't forget that.
Yeah.
How is that even, like, maybe I missed it on the, like, I've seen the memes and everything, but it's like Nico just been, like, drilling it in everybody lately.
Mainly just Lewis.
Yeah?
Yeah, he's like,
he was
George is-
riding Lewis pretty good in Miami. It wasn't as bad as the memes make it out to be, but you know the way the internet is. They smell the slightest bit of blood, and then that's it. They're off.
They'll latch onto everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I think he's done. You know what? Like, for someone of that caliber too, I don't. I get he like went to Aston Martin with aspirations that they were going to build into some super team, which they've gone the complete opposite direction, unfortunately for him. And yeah, I just don't think he's too interested in, like, oh wow, if we do really good this weekend, we might crack into Q2. I don't think he has any desire to be on a team that is like scraping by to get into Q2. So I think he might just look at trying other racing series, sort of what Alonso did. Maybe down the road he might come back. I couldn't really see it, but there's just a lot of other things that he could do.
Well, since we're on
Yeah, I
the
think-
topic of drivers leaving F1, what do we
Oh,
think?
I know what's going here. Yeah.
What do we think of Latifi? Well, where did you think I was going with that?
Oh, Latifi. Well, I guess
No,
it is a
I was-
Canadian.
I
It
was-
is a Canadian podcast.
No,
we should-
I was fully gonna do the Danny Rick.
I
I just needed to throw
I was
you
thinking
off.
Danny Rick.
Yeah,
Um,
do we think Danny Rick's gonna be out of McLaren or at least out of Formula One at the end of this season?
No.
No.
So according to
Forget
what
mine.
I've
I wanna hear
heard
this.
from
Yeah.
other podcasts is there is an out in his clause. Like, there's a clause that can get him out,
Yeah.
but he has control of it, not McLaren. So it's his decision.
Oh.
And even though he looks like he's beat up, I don't see Danny Rick going down easy. So he's going to go down swinging. He's going to just keep trying. And I don't blame him. I would too. Like, he knows what it tastes like. He knows what figuring out a car feels like, and getting race wins and being the best. And, it's so hard to say now, but is he past his prime? Is he ever going to figure out this McLaren? That's hard to say. But if you put Prime Norris up against Prime Rick, I think Prime Rick would not wipe the floor with him, but beat him by a small margin. And he knows that, and he can't say it, and he really can't do much about it. So maybe he puts his head down, gets on the sim, works really hard with the team, and comes back for next year and tries again. And then if it's a miserable fail, kind of the third time over, I could see him packing it up after that.
You're giving him 3 strikes, eh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, he's allowed to give himself 3 strikes.
I
Really.
don't.
Unless Zach Brown comes with a massive check, goes, take that clause.
Yeah, that's true. They couldn't. I mean, if they really were desperate, I guess they could buy him out. But I also, just to point out, you said you think that Prime Ricard would wipe the floor or just maybe beat Prime Norris. I don't think we've seen Prime Norris yet, to be
Ooh,
honest.
I like that.
I agree with Kyle.
Yeah.
And I don't think I don't think Prime Rick would wipe the floor with current Norris, let's call it.
Right.
I think he'd beat him, but by a small margin.
I think there's a bit more from Norris that we just haven't seen yet, and maybe it's
Yep.
maybe it's the car holding him back a bit. Like, it's not the best car he's driven this year. They have turned it around quite a bit since the start of the season, but I think that whole like pool of talent between Russell, Leclerc, and Norris as well. and Verstappen, obviously, same guys from relatively same age. I think Norris is right on par with all of those guys, to be fair. And this is not just McLaren bias or whatever. I think he's
No.
just genuinely a very, very good driver who, in the right car, could also be right up there fighting with those guys for wins and potentially championships. I'll leave it at potentially, just because we don't know until he actually has a car that could do it. But I don't think we've seen his best yet, which is a good thing. I think there's more to
How
come.
old? Do you guys know how old Norris is?
21 or 22?
How old's Max?
24?
Yeah, I think there's a couple
So-
years difference.
What was Max doing in 2018?
Driving for Red Bull.
Driving Red Bull, yeah.
But he was a bit spastic, and he was known as a bit of a crasher and
Yeah.
aggressive. And
I mean,
look at
still
Red Bull. Like
known
Red
as-
Bull in 2015, 2016, they were ahead of where McLaren is now, but not by a lot. So, like you said, the car isn't.
Well, I think so. Red Bull
best.
in those years, I think they were comparable to a Mercedes right now, where they had a good car, but it wasn't a championship contending car. It was a
that is a good
pick up a
and then they
win
just
here
come
and
off
there.
winning too.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. And
But anyway, the point I was making is you can invest an entire team into a young driver, and if the driver believes in it and the team believes in it, and you have to sacrifice your second driver, maybe McLaren's taking a page out of Red Bull's book. Like, sorry, Rick, and sorry to who's ever going to follow him. This is a Lando car, and if you can't figure it out, tough luck, because we're putting everything we got into him.
yeah,
And if they go with that strategy, maybe it just might work, just the way it did with the Red Bull.
yeah. It's sort of just it's just sort of the nature of the business with F1. Young guys come up, and that's who's going to get the most time and attention, obviously, unless you're Alonso, obviously. I mean,
Yeah.
he did take part in the rookie young drivers test, so maybe he is a young driver, but for the most part, it's the young drivers that are going to get the most attention, right? And, Ricardo, I don't think he's, that naive. He knows that, right? But I think maybe he might look for a little more from his team, a little more support. But we'll see. I think it's tough. I think it might be tough for him to stick around, though. It's just he's had one points finish this year, like in Grand Prix, excluding the sprint weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
that's a tough record.
That's just not
right
good
now.
enough, right? I mean, Zhou Guan Yu has as many points finishes as him. Might not have been
Yeah.
like a higher position, but when you look at the grand scheme, when you look at the end results and you see points finishes, and he's only got one. That really hurts.
Well, that's
Really
one
hurts.
more than Nicholas Latifi. Or does Latifi have points this year, or still nothing?
Still nothing,
No.
unfortunately.
He's what?
I-
Now
consistently.
he's Mr. Consistent, like
Yeah,
P16,
P16,
P16, P16,
Yeah.
P16.
Look, like
Yeah.
he gets a lot of flack, and you know what? He's our Canadian boy. I always want to support our Canadian guys. That's just another guy who, you know what? He looked like he was figuring it out last year. He was never gonna beat Russell. Russell's obviously a better driver. No one's gonna argue that. But it did look like he was starting to figure out F1 a little bit last year. And then the cars changed, and it's just right back to square one, unfortunately. But that's
Yep.
another guy that I think might, not might. I think this is his last season too. I don't think Williams is as cash strapped as they used to be. They want to get better. Albon has been so good for them, and I think they're thinking that they could get a second guy in there who could fight for points like Albon is. The car is 10th out of 10 right now in terms of performance, but given the right strategy like we saw in Australia or Miami, they can still fight for points on some race days, right? And I think they want two guys that can be able to do that. So that's another guy that might unfortunately see the exit.
Yep.
Yeah.
I got nothing to add to that. That was spot
Well,
on.
that was summed up.
Thanks. Thank
summed
you
up
very much,
perfectly,
guys.
really.
Um,
Maybe Latifi can come home and we could start a Sofina Nutella Formula A.
Nutella Man, yeah.
We could start a Canadian touring car
Yeah.
team with him.
Oh yeah,
That's what
Nutella
you should do.
Motorsport.
I know every F1 driver listens to this podcast, so
Yeah.
Latifi, when you hear this, we have a spot for you.
Let's do Nutella Motorsport. I'm so down for that. If you guys want to stick on the topic of guys that might be leaving or looking at other opportunities, there's one other guy we had spoke about for this podcast, and it's because, I mean, shout out to Checo for his new contract. We made a post about that. So shouts out to him. That was awesome, well deserved. But it's a bit of a nail in the coffin for any potential Red Bull return for one Pierre Gasly. What do you guys think is the best option for Pierre?
So I think I'll weigh in on this because I recently read an article, I think it was yesterday, where I think it was Helmut Marko made a comment about Gasly saying, well, we're basically just going to see how he does in 2023 because he's got nowhere better to go than AlphaTauri right now. And I was like, wow, that was a hard shot.
Yeah. I don't agree with Helmut personally. I've never agreed with Helmut on anything, actually. I think he's a words I won't say in the podcast.
I don't think Helmut can agree with Helmut.
No. No, I don't think he knows half the stuff he says, but
yeah,
I think he has more options because I don't think Mr. Helmut is taking into consideration other guys that could be leaving, right?
No, he's a race winner. He's a podium driver. We've seen it when he has even somewhat of a half-decent car.
Yeah.
He's insane in qualifying. I just really think he was too young, too under pressure in a team that was not nurturing for him whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like Max has proven he can be in a volatile pressure cooker and just keep going. And most drivers shouldn't be able to do that, in my opinion. But Gasly could not, Albon could not. Albon had a little bit of a cooler head, but not by much. But I think it's time for Gasly to leave the Red Bull homestead, and not even in a bad way, just spread your wings. You're a great driver, you've proven it, and maybe I hate to say it, I don't really hate to say it, but I don't see Gasly being a world champion anytime soon.
No,
but he could definitely do kind of like what a Bottas is doing, or even almost like a Norris. Like find a team, and you're good. Then the team gets built around you.
Yeah.
Because AlphaTauri is really built around driver development. It's not built around one driver, or their main goal is driver development for Red Bull. I think at least it is. It's what it seems like.
100%.
So, maybe he could go to Aston and work with Lance and work with Lawrence and help build that team up and make it his own project. Or he could go to maybe the French, meet the French, and he goes to Alpine. And
yeah, that was a rumor a while back. I don't know. I think that's Piastri's to lose personally at Alpine, but
I think we're just waiting on Alonso to finally retire for Piastri to get that seat, though.
Oh man, I don't ever see. I don't know if that'll happen anytime soon.
Yeah.
I think he'd have to be kicked out before he retires. To be honest,
I see him coming back in his 60s, being the oldest driver to ever race.
Yeah, honestly, never know, right? But we don't know what Hamilton's plans are after this. He's producing a movie with Brad Pitt now for an F1 movie.
Yeah.
So maybe this guy just says, I've got so much other stuff to do. I've won everything there is to win. He's a big fashion guy. He just wants to produce movies now, music, right? He could be gone. And I don't think Toto would just be discouraged at taking on Gasly for the second, to back up Russell. I think that would be a really good pairing. And I think Toto would love to take a driver away from Horner and Marco. I think he would absolutely love to do that. And we just talked about maybe Ricciardo leaving, so there could be a door open at McLaren for Gasly. So I think that would also
be a really good spot for him.
Yeah, so I think he's got a lot of options. And I know it's not been the best year for him this year, and AlphaTauri is not as good as it was last year, but this is the Baku preview, and I mean he has been very good at Baku.
Yeah, he got a podium last year, I think.
Yeah, he made an incredible move on Leclerc at the end to get third. Right? So it's right, his potential I don't think has really been met just yet.
I think we also all went very safe with our predictions.
Yeah.
Because I don't think we factored in the error percentage.
I did that for Russell, actually. I didn't put Russell in my top 8, and it's nothing to do against him. I just have this gut feeling, he's got this unreal top 5.
It's been too good. It's been too good. Something's got to snap.
I just feel like something's going to happen this weekend. And I don't know, maybe, I don't think it'll be anything from his side. I think he's been driving amazing. I don't think he's just all of a sudden just going to, have a terrible weekend. I just think something's going to snap this weekend. I don't know what. I just got a gut feeling. Now that I say that, he'll probably podium, but I don't know,
So one thing that I'm slightly concerned about is the Red Bull reliability. I think being wide open on such a long straight might potentially, and I know Ryan's doesn't want to hear this.
No, I just genuinely think they have it sewed up now.
You think so?
Yeah.
It is.
They proved it last year. Honda, Red Bull, although Honda's not there in quotations.
Yeah.
Red Bull powertrains with the help of ex-Honda employees and their aero and chassis department, they proved to work really well last year. So this isn't a Renault relationship again. So I think they'll have it sewn up. I think they do have it sewn up. I don't think they're still going to be the odd one, but it's not going to be what was it, 2016, 2017, where they
Well, I think it was
like rolling the dice
where Danny Rick had 8 DNFs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, imagine. Okay, so if they've got the powertrains figured out, the DRS was a problem. Could you imagine the DRS not working at Baku? You're done.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You might as well just retire. I think we should save the engine, guys. I'm sorry. You might as well just call it a day. If you don't have DRS at Baku, you're done. And so I hope for their sake that they figured it out. You're going to hear a lot of expletives from Max again if that thing's not working. So, yeah, that's the only thing that... Because if the car's working, I think 1-2 is a lock for them. I think it's theirs to lose this weekend. If the car is working properly, that's the big thing. They're their own worst enemy right now, I think. Which, I guess the same could be said about Ferrari, but...
Strategy.
Well,
yeah.
I hate to say this, but Ferrari's kind of reminding me of them in 2017, where I think Vettel was challenging Hamilton for the championship.
Yeah.
Up to the halfway point. And then strategy and the development war just went out the window.
And there was 2019 too, where he did have the championship lead for the first half of the season, and then they had that little off at Hockenheim, his little incident, and it was just like a downward spiral from there. It was like an 18-wheeler going off a cliff. Everything just went to hell for them, and then cool as a cucumber, Hamilton just cruises along to another championship. So
I just feel like Ferrari's in that almost they're not there yet, but they're almost in that boat again, where they're just they're almost at the spiraling point where it's just out of control. I think they can still snap back, but they're on the edge of completely derailing once again.
Yeah. So from their side, this is an important race for them. They had a huge championship lead with Leclerc and in the constructors too. They've lost both of them, so Baku is a huge race for them, honestly, and it's going to be interesting to see. They can't afford to have another, box now, stay out. They can't do it. They can't do it. So it'll be interesting, very interesting. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be an exciting race.
I think it's going to be a good race.
Baku is always a fun one. I don't think anyone's going to argue that.
It'll be an early
I like
morning
Baku.
one. I
I've
think
never
it's
really had any beef with Baku.
7 a.m. for us?
It's 7 a.m., yeah.
Oh, it's easy.
So, yeah, get your pot of coffee ready, pour your cereal out, and get ready, because it's going to be a fun one. I'm excited. And yeah, like you said, no beef with Baku. I like it. I like it. It can stay. It can stay.
It's a good track.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. So, anything else to add?
I think that's it. Let's figure out the official points tallies for our predictions, and we'll get our our prediction standings sorted out, and we'll share.
Do you
with
two want to
guys.
talk about something quickly, and I could do it quick right now, or do you want to just cut it and then we'll figure it out after?
Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
Well, I haven't tallied it because
It's on
I
your
missed
mind.
something.
You're smiling. Let's hear it.
No, I'm dead serious.
I know.
I could not do the tally and talk on the podcast at the same time.
Yeah.
Oh, well, we could always just
I'm
post
flattered
it.
that you think I could, but no chance.
We could just post it on our socials after, and then talk about it at the next podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, keep an eye on the Instagram for it. We'll post our predictions for Baku that we went over on this podcast too. And we'll see who is coming out victorious at the end of it. But yeah.
Oh, yeah?
I hope I'm wrong and Norris wins.
Well, I hope for that too, but time
Comment,
will tell.
like, subscribe.
Yeah, comment,
Yeah.
like, subscribe. Check our new fancy Instagram reels too, and join in on the banter. We want to hear from you guys too. So, yeah, and it's gonna be an exciting weekend, and yeah, look forward to talking to you guys with our race review next week.
All right, guys.
So, yeah.
See you next week.
All right. See you next week, guys.